Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to welcome everybody to meeting number 18 this Monday, December 13th. It's the last one for 2021. I'd like to just start by singing "O Canada." So, O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Thank you. All right. Due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals and to comply with the province's state of emergency order, the council chambers are not open to the public to attend council meetings until further notice. As noted on this evening's agenda, any members of the public who wish to provide comments could do so at a meeting under the request to address items under the agenda by contacting the clerk prior to 4:30 today or by emailing their comments to the clerk by 4:30 today. Please note that any email comments submitted are to be considered part of the public information and be read into the public record later in the agenda. Any members of the public can watch this evening's council meeting by using the live stream link found on the township's website, as this meeting is being live streamed and will also be audio video recorded and posted on the township's website for viewing anytime following the meeting. We have the land acknowledgement statement. The township of West Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land was steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawandurunk, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Councillor Trombetta, you have the opening petition.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals in the community. As trusted servants, we act wisely and well. Amen.
Thank you. And I would like to just note at this time that Councillor Bradrick was unable to connect this evening, and so she will be sorely missed, but we'll move on without her. Are there any changes in order of items on the agenda, councillors? I see none, Madam Clerk, so we're going to move on. There were no disclosures of conflict of interest, pecuniary interest noted in this evening's agenda. Does any member of council have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest that was not included as part of this evening's agenda and is not yet declared? Again, I see none, Madam Clerk. I'm going to ask the IT manager, is there anyone in the Zoom meeting indicating they wish to provide comments as permitted by section 6.7 of the procedural bylaw? Madam Keith or Miss Keith?
No, Mr. Mayor, there's none.
Okay. Were there any members of the public that he emailed comments prior to 4:30 today with respect to a specific item on the agenda as permitted 6.7 of the procedural bylaw? Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Mayor, there was not.
Thank you very much. Then we're going to move on to several appointments and presentations. So this, we're starting first and foremost with our market coordinator, Michelle Seaborn. You have the floor, Ms. Seaborn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you, and I hope I don't mess this up. See, I already did. We would like to give you a little presentation. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
A little presentation on the first year of the market. So I'm going to minimize this and bring this up, and I would imagine everybody can see this okay?
Shortly.
When you share it, yeah.
Didn't I share it? Okay, well, let's go back. I'm going to mess this up. I just
You're
know
not.
it.
Oh, Michelle, it's okay. You're doing.
Well, I can see it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you guys can't see it. Okay.
The share?
Well, I'm going to just get rid of that and give me a second to try and figure it out again. I should have left it there. Okay. Mr. Mayor, you're right in my way.
Sorry.
Doesn't matter who's there. It's right where I need to be. Right there.
To find the share.
Yeah, it's right behind you right now, Beth.
Oh, so it's a little green up arrow. Do you see
Look at
that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try again. Share screen. Wrong screen. I'm so sorry, folks. We're going to
No.
give this another try.
Don't worry.
We had it, didn't we?
Mhm.
Yeah, we did. So we can do it again.
Okay, there it is, right there.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
play
we
from
did
the
it.
beginning. Yay, we got it, right?
You
Yes,
did
we
it.
got
Everybody
it.
see it?
Yes, we can. Good.
Okay,
Good job.
don't you just love technology? You'd think
Yes.
I'd only done this once or something. So first of all, this is a lovely logo that was done for us by a company in Beamsville. They captured what both Bev and I were looking to try and capture with the feeling of a new market. Of course, you're the chicken capital of Canada. You're a farming community. The sun always shines, not just in Grimsby, but in Smithville too. So yes, we have a nice little logo there. And now, how do I change the page?
Probably down arrow, maybe.
It says stop participants chat more.
Down arrow.
Down arrow. I don't see a down arrow anywhere. Once
Oh,
we
there
get
we go.
this
There we go.
going.
You did it.
You
Did
it.
I?
Good job.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what I did, but I'm glad I did it.
Okay,
So,
good. Do that again.
Yes, it'll be a learning experience for all of us. So first of all, a little bit of an introduction. The strategic plan was laid out by council to bring back a market to West Lincoln. You had a very successful market for quite some time. It dissolved, I think about 9 years ago. So the current market has been made possible through a Rural Economic Development, or RED, grant that was completed by both your CAO, Bev Hendry, and your Niagara Region Economic Development Officer, Linda Scioli. Okay, so what did I do to make it work last time? I'm sorry, guys, I really am.
If I could do it for you, I would.
I don't know how I got it to do it the last time. I really don't.
The down arrow again, maybe.
I don't see the down arrow.
On your
So,
keyboard.
if you've got it, would you do the down arrow?
How about return? No, or enter.
I think if you try the arrows on your keyboard, if you go even whether it's down or to the right arrow, that might help move the slides. So not with the mouse, but with your keyboard itself.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're trying that, and it's just not really working for us. I seem to have hit it by mistake the first time. I'm really sorry. For some reason, I thought this was going to be out of my control.
Okay.
Do you want me to try to share mine then? It's going to be bad, but we'll try.
Well, why don't you try the space bar? Can you try the space bar first?
Yeah. Let's see.
And if that doesn't work, then I would hit the escape button and then just do it manually.
Share. Oh, it is the space
There we
bar.
go,
Okay,
there we
so
go.
everybody make note of that. It's the space bar.
All right, good.
All right,
good.
now we're moving here. So West Lincoln Farmers Market started officially July 23rd, ran for a total of 12 weeks until October 8th. Our first week we had 12 vendors. There was some reluctance that we noticed actually with some of the local vendors, and I'm not really sure what it was, but there was a lot of interest, but a lot of them wanted to come in on a temporary type basis. So you'll notice that some of them were kind of here one week, not the next week. They were just trying it out. Now, by the time we did the grand opening on August 27th, we had 24 vendors. So we had really encouraged a lot of people to come out, give this a shot, we can make it work. So just come out and see what we can do. The Kiwanis came out. They were distributing popcorn to all the people that were there, and there was even a children's group. Can you believe the background is an 8-week-old puppy who I'm going to string up if he doesn't stop barking in my back porch? My apologies, folks. The final day of the market saw 14 vendors, and most of that was because people had run out of product by then. So this was opening day. This was your grand opening day on August 27th, this bottom picture. And we had a really nice day for it. We had lots of members of council out there. It was a good day. We decided, though, to find out just what our vendors thought of it. So it was a short market. It was only 12 weeks. And we wanted to know, what do the vendors think of the market and where are we going to go from here? So the vendors that were there were asked to complete a short survey about their experience, of which we got 14 responses. We asked if the part-time or the temporary vendors would consider coming back full-time next year. And this was important to me because these are the ones that were somewhat reluctant to come in the first place, and every one of them said yes. So the experience they had had in their first market season was fulfilling enough that they decided they'd like to come back for another year. When asked if they were happy with the music or the entertainment we had, all of them enjoyed having the music. It did add something to the market. And the only ones that had concerns were those that were set up right beside where the musician was. And it was sometimes hard to judge how loud they were when you're at one end of the market and you've got vendors and the musician at the other end. When asked if they'd be participating in a winter market, most of the people said yes. The only two that said they wouldn't be interested were people that didn't have product available at that time. We asked about other suggestions that would make the market more of an attraction. Farmers markets should be an attraction. You want people to come, you want them to stay, you want them to visit with other people. Of course, COVID in the last 2 years has really put a damper on that. It was come in, get what you want and get out sort of thing. And it was not the real atmosphere that you like for a farmer's market. So we're all hoping that 2022 brings forward a year where we can get back to what is considered in the past as the normal. So when we asked them for suggestions that might keep people there, the dinner market suggestion was really quite well uptaken. We also decided we needed more vendors and we wanted some special events, like perhaps a teddy bear picnic or having some other groups come in and do some various things with the market. Then we decided to survey customers, and Beth Audette put this on our Facebook page, and I want to take a moment at this point to thank Beth hugely because she did a really good job of putting the message of our market out there for people on Facebook. She also did the digital survey, or at least set this up for us, which allowed people to answer our questions online. We had 40 people respond to it. So when we asked them, how did they find out about the market? Overwhelmingly, people found out about it on social media. Now that's kind of interesting because I've always thought that print was one of the best ways of doing it, or sometimes people came across it by chance. But in this particular case, and as I'll discuss a little later, we found that social media was a really big criteria for getting people out to the market. If we asked them if they thought something was missing at the market, there was a lot of comments there. They felt that we needed more local fruit and vegetables. We needed more variety. We needed food vendors. And when I say food vendors, I mean somebody that's actually preparing a meal for you. There were no flour vendors this year, or at least we didn't have them on a regular basis. And we had nobody doing baking of breads and buns and stuff like that. Those are all things that people come to a farmer's market hoping to find fresh. We asked if Friday was a good day for a market, and overwhelmingly, most people thought that Friday was a good day. Others had suggested that perhaps a Saturday morning, And when we're finished with the presentation, I'm going to make some suggestions about the particular day and why one day might be better than another. When asked if they visited any particular vendors in particular, some felt that bakery was the first place they went. Others were looking at cheese or vegetables. Some, they just went to each vendor just to see what everybody had that particular week. When asked if they'd like to see other entertainment, most of them said they really enjoyed the music, but suggested using the band shell when it's ready. And of course, we're all hoping that next year we can slide the market to a little bit further south and take in the band shell as part of an entertainment. When asked for any other comments, the comments most common were the need for more vendors, different products, the desire to eat at the market or at least take it home, and more advertising to get more people out there. We decided to run a winter market. The winter market was a pretty successful market. We had lots of vendors signed up for it. Some of them opted to be outside of the market. You'll see a few empty tables there, and that's because these people decided they wanted to sample their products. And of course, with all the restrictions and rules around COVID, they wouldn't be able to sample inside. So they chose to be outside. We had a really good attendance. I was trying to talk to people and just see what they thought of the whole thing. And I was counting for a while and lost track of it. So I can't give you an accurate number, but there were several hundred people that came through that day. And I thought for a first event, that was pretty successful. So where do we go from here? 2022 will be the first full season of the new market. And we're certainly hoping that many of the restrictions imposed by COVID-19 will be reduced to the point where once again, we can experience the whole farmers market as an event. I would like to propose that we turn it into a dinner market as well. By doing a dinner market, you have people that come and they make Friday nights, the night that they're going downtown, they're going to the market, they're going to listen to music at the band shell, and they're going to have a meal. So I'd like to try and get some food trucks in, and I would like to encourage some of the vendors that actually prepare food to have it available to eat at the market. This will bring people to the market. It will keep them at the market. Of course, you got a lovely children's playground there, which should be good for parents to allow their kids to play in while they're either shopping or listening to music. Entertainment is a big part of any community event, and we'll strive to bring in more local talent. We have a really nice man, Hal Grant, that comes as our balloon person. He's well known in Smithville, and I was amazed at how many not so young children had the opportunity to talk to him, and he remembered some of them from when he was making balloons for them in certain school projects. We have some local artists, some local musicians that did play for us. I mean, one of them is Stephanie Deshane. She lives right across the street from this facility, and she's well liked because she's got a voice that is it's a very pleasant voice, and she's got quite a repertoire of music that she plays. We need to attract more vendors with local products, and that wasn't seen so much in this year. We had a little bit of everything, but not enough of anything. And I think you'll find that when you have more vendors, you'll get more customers, and when you have more customers, you'll get more vendors. So it's going to become a circle that we have to jump on at some point to try and get more vendors out there, to get more customers out there and make this a really successful market. We have the ability to make this one of the better markets in the area, so I'd like to work at trying to do that. I'd like to try and attract some bakers with breads and sweet treats, more fruit and vegetable growers. These are things that we found that we had a little bit of, but certainly not enough for a choice. I'd like to try and get the current vendors to broaden their product lines. So they right now are just testing the waters to see what customers were. And I think you'll find that some of our current vendors are going to have an expanded line of products when they come back. I'd like to try and get some craft vendors to come into what is considered our traditional food and farm-based markets. It adds interest. Now, those will be the ones that will become our temporary vendors, and at that, they would be allowed to come in perhaps once a month. So why the restriction on that? In order to be considered a farmer's market, you need to be at least 50% food and farm-based. The higher your percentage of food and farm, the more you're considered an actual farmer's market. Somebody one time asked me if the bazaar was on that day, and I thought, no way is anybody ever going to mix up a farmer's market with a bazaar. So I like to try and keep it very high in the food and the farm-based products. I'd like to encourage the vendors to start using Facebook a little bit more. One of the things that was mentioned over and over again was the need for more social media presence. So whether it's Facebook, or if we get into Twitter, or if we get into some of the other ones out there, there needs to be a really strong social media presence. Obviously it works. Almost 80% of the people that showed up at the market had found out about it from social media. I don't know if there's another page to this. There is. So what I'd like to just mention at this point before we watch this quick little video is that most of you are aware that I also run the Grimsby Farmers Market, which we've just completed 14 years. So I'm going to call the Grimsby Market the established market. And then I'm going to refer to the West Lincoln Market as the new market. We did the survey, and we have done a survey every year for Grimsby. We did the survey for Smithville, and they were very similar. But what was more surprising was the answers were very similar as well. So here you've got an established market that is saying we need more social media presence. We have a brand new market saying the same. We have people saying there should be more variety, there should be more choices. Certainly the other point that keeps coming across is we have to get people to stay at the market. We've been unable to do that because of COVID in the last couple of years. Should those restrictions lift enough that we can encourage people to stay, I think that you have the opportunity to have a really good market in the Smithville or in the West Lincoln Community Center parking lot, and I think it'll be well appreciated by everybody in town. Now, I should have this little button here that should allow us to watch this short video that Beth Audette put together for us, and I'd be welcome to take any questions afterwards. Oh, it does work.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And so at this time, we have any questions or comments to Michelle? Counselor, and I saw the little, I saw your daughter there, so she did get featured in a little video there, Counselor Trombetta. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Michelle, for the presentation. I just want to say thank you for all your work that you did this season. It was a busy market. You know, you saw a lot of people out there, and I wanted to continue. You did mention a few things that we'd like to see. There was that need for that Friday night. People want to kind of take home dinner. So I think adding the food trucks to this event would actually help, or having more vendors that could sell more food stuff. Because it's Friday night, people want to pick up their home dinner and maybe a pie and basket of fruit and head on home, right? So that's a great idea. What I'd like to see also, Michelle, sometimes I noticed that there's not enough. I know you mentioned the social media advertising. There's not enough road advertising. You have those nice signs that are inside, you know, those long farmers market signs. I'd like to more see them along Highway 20 a bit, to notice, because when you're driving down Highway 20, you just see a little sign that's there at the entrance. And, you know, maybe people aren't so socially on media, and if they see more signs, or then if there's 5 or 6 of those, I guess I don't know what they're called, those
Flags.
Wayfinding signs, if you wish.
wayfinding. Okay, those ones. Yeah, if there's 5 or 6 of them, lined up along the boulevard, I think people would see it and then know that's market day, right? So I'd like to see more of that. Hopefully we can add that, maybe in talks with our staff in the region. I understand it's a regional road, so there's all these hoops sometimes we have to go through. I really enjoyed the Christmas market. I think that was a hit. I think you could have even done 2, and it would have been a great hit. So I just wanted to say thank you for all your work and being really responsive on email to the vendors, and hope we can see those changes and move forward in 2022. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? I'd like to also express, I think I made about 10 of the 12 weeks throughout the summer. And just to kind of get a real sense of how it morphed and is an organic product. And so I was very, very pleased. I spent way too much there every week. But we enjoyed the produce and products all summer long. So with that, I think if there's anybody else, then we'll move on. Thank you, Michelle, and we'll see you next year.
Mr.
Very
Mayor.
good. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Riley has his hand up over there.
Okay, sorry, yep.
No, that's fine. I had my hand up there. I guess you just didn't see it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to mention something as well. Like, again, thank you for the presentation, Michelle, and thank you for all the work you poured into this. As far as feedback goes, I think we've all can attest there that we've heard nothing but positive feedback from the community. Certainly something that's been long overdue. I think as far as some of the constructive criticism side of things, all seem to be more times than not, lack of vendors or even the time frame. That seemed to be the common trend there. And even with the Christmas market, I know there is, not so much concerns, but expressed interest to see if, whenever we have another one of those, if that could maybe run a little bit later in the day, maybe it starts a little bit later in the morning. However, we need to accommodate that. I know there's a lot of people who weren't able to take advantage of this incredible event that we have. And that's essentially, I think, what we're trying to create here, almost a weekly event with the farmers market. But even with the winter market, people want to spend and invest into, the local businesses. We just need to accommodate that in whatever we can. So again, I don't know if there's an opportunity in the summer months for those who said, weekends work better for them, or later in the evening, and maybe the evening dinner market might accommodate that. I realize it would be nice to have one random one maybe on a Saturday, and maybe we only do 1 or 2 of those. So just kind of throwing an idea out there. And then again, with the winter markets, there's a lot of people really enjoyed having that and something else to do in the wintertime. So again, it'd be nice to see a few more of those. I don't know how it's going to work for this coming year, but as we build towards that, it'd be nice to see a few more of those that maybe offered a different range of times. Again, I don't know if that makes it more confusing for some people, because I understand the continuity kind of makes it easy for people to remember, but it doesn't necessarily accommodate those who have to work or on shift work or whatever their lifestyle holds. So that would only be my constructive. Otherwise, thank you so much for everything you've done, and of all the years, I think the market was definitely needed this year, considering the kind of year we had last year. I think it's starting to bring our community back together. So I certainly appreciated attending myself and seeing all the faces there as well. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Riley. Madam CAO.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to raise one thing, and I think you're all aware, when we were putting this together, with Michelle's help, we sort of identified the day and time gap that was out there. So, and I analyzed when all the other markets were, what their times were, and noted that Friday at this time, there was an opening. And with Michelle's experience, she also knows who can sort of do another market on a Friday and then come to this market, and how they can figure that out. So we can adjust as we need to, for sure. And but that was sort of the starting point, the bit of research that went in before we kicked it off. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Then Michelle, any last comments?
I did. I just wanted to make one quick comment, if I could, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank all of the staff that I've had to work with. The people over at the community center have been a godsend, especially during that winter market. They worked with me about the setup. They actually did the setup. They've been there every week providing us with generators. They've help with the cleanup and the setup. This is not something I could have done on my own. So you've got a really good staff working for you. And I just wanted to put a big thank you out for them. Everybody that I've had to deal with have been amazing. So many thanks. I'm not going to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I'm thinking about an Easter market. So kind of keep that open, okay?
Okay, great. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All right,
staff is
thanks.
wonderful. Thank you, Michelle.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, so moving on, we have now a presentation on our mitigate environmental impacts PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to call on Megan Burbank to do her presentation with respect to the one-year review of the Township West Lincoln's plan to mitigate environmental impacts. So go ahead, Megan. Good to have you on board.
Thank you. Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, we can now.
Okay. Awesome. So, good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight I'll do a review of the first year since the plan to mitigate environmental impacts was endorsed. I'll do a quick review of the plan itself and discuss the major milestones that have occurred since the plan was endorsed last year. So the plan initially started when the township applied for a staff grant with FCM in June of 2018, so a few years ago. The township was awarded this grant in 2019 to have 80% of a staff member's salary covered. Then as of last year in November, the council endorsed this plan and called it the Plan to Mitigate Environmental Impacts. And FCM formally ended, or the grant formally ended last month, with the township receiving the very last installment of the funds to cover that position. From the plan to mitigate environmental impacts, it was found that the community emissions accounted for 99% of West Lincoln's total greenhouse gas emissions. And then for both community and corporate, the following sectors were reviewed on emissions basis, both sector and the source level itself. Community data had transportation as the highest emissions, and this emissions were combined from gasoline and diesel. If nothing was done, it was expected that the overall community data would increase by 42% by 2031. The township identified that we had a 5% reduction target, and that's from 2019 levels. Corporate data had a reduction target of 20%, as that's something more easily controlled by the township. It was found that if nothing was done, 39% increase would occur by 2031. The major sectors for corporate data were facilities and fleet, with both diesel and gasoline contributing to fleet data, and natural gas being the major one for facilities. And then the plan to mitigate environmental impacts had 14 major objectives, 45 action items focusing on 5 topics, these being staff, facilities, transportation, waste, and land use. 28 action items had a goal of being implemented within the first year of the plan. The township was able to successfully check off 12 action items with the new action item added in within the first year across all 5 focus areas. Staff focus items had 3 major successes. The first being that the Green Team continued to meet and met monthly since May of this year and had a 90% average attendance between all Green Team members. The Green Team is a voluntary team throughout the township and has someone from each department on the team. IT also created a sustainability folder so that someone from all departments can access the information. One catch is that staff have to actually have access to a computer to access this information. Administration and communication staff were able to share monthly messages to citizens over Twitter on sustainability messaging, these relating to sustainable transportation, local foods, climate change, waste management, and stewardship emissions or stewardship projects. Facility action items, there were 2 major successes. The Green Team and also the Recreation Department were able to understand provincially energy use benchmarks and targets. That was done to help understand where facilities could, which facilities could better be addressed to mitigate any efforts being done at those facilities. The other one was that Public Works switched the remaining 20% of streetlights to LED bulbs and have been installing energy efficient light bulbs in all facilities over the last year. There were 3 transportation action item successes. The first being that IT and the senior management team improved technology for staff to work from home with Citrix so that we could access our staff hard drives remotely, and that both IT and senior management team promoted virtual meetings through video conferencing systems like Zoom, and also just installed video cameras on staff's computers so that they could better communicate in the meetings. Senior management has also been promoting the regional rideshare program and have been promoting broadband infrastructure over the last year. There was also 3 waste management action items done this year. These being that there was an inventory created for waste audits per facility. So there's been a waste audit done at the town hall and at the community center. And the next waste audit probably will be at the waste or public works facility and the community in the libraries. Green Team and communication staffs have been encouraging source separation, such as recycling, and also using the green bin through sending emails to staff and putting posters up at the township office. Both the Green Team and custodial staff have set up green organic bins in township washrooms, and probably next year we'll be putting them in the lunchroom. It's more easy to manage the green bin in the administration office than maybe where at the community center where all of any citizen can use it. So right now we are just working on the township office. Finally, there's been 2 major land use action items. The first being that planning and recreational staff have been working with Landcare Niagara and Smithville Christian High School to plant an urban forest beside Anastasio Park. So this is helping with planting of trees. And then that SMT and the West Lincoln Public Works have distributed information about the National Truth and Reconciliation Day. So of the action items, the majority of action items were high priority action items that were done and were quick wins. A couple of them were also harder to implement within the plan when it was just figured out. So it was nice that not all of them were quick wins. We also worked on some harder to implement ones, but the majority of them were all high priority ones to be done this year. And the Green Team is happy with having at least 11 action items done. The next steps is to continue to work on both short-term and long-term action items, to continue to monitor the action items and as well as greenhouse gas emissions and report these to SMT and council on an annual basis to hold the plan accountable. And that's it. Also, thank you to everyone who's on the Green Team, because the review and monitoring couldn't be done without them. And that's just a list of everyone. We've also had a few new staff members actually just asked to be on the team, which is nice to note, with the newest one being Tiana, the enforcement officer. And that's everything.
Thank you, Megan. Does anybody have any questions for Megan on her presentation? Okay, I don't see anybody in the gallery. So thank you, Megan. We have a resolution. I think Councilor Riley volunteered to move the first resolution.
I did.
Can I-
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for the presentation, Megan. Move that report PD 136-2021 dated December 13, 2021 regarding the one-year review of the Township of West Lincoln plan to mitigate environmental impacts be received for information purposes.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that? Councilor Jonker, thank you. Any comments or questions? I see none, so we'll go to the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Megan, and look forward to continued work. We move on to our next presentation is Carolyn Ryall and Beth Brenz from the Niagara Region Transportation Services Vision Zero Road Safety Update PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us this evening.
Councilor, or Mayor Bylsma, there's a resolution for them to allow them to go longer tonight for their
Oh,
presentation.
okay.
Which they requested that we pass so that they could go beyond the 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think I have Cheryl Ganan with that motion. Thank you. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I do have that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Moved by myself that the Township Council waive the provisions of Section 6.5, scheduled appointments and/or presentations, specifically Section C, in order to permit Ms. Ryall and Ms. Brand's appointment/presentation relating to Vision Zero to extend beyond the 10-minute maximum time limit.
Thank you. And can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Riley, thank you. Any comments or questions? Councillor Rayner, go ahead.
So how much we want to give them? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? We put the watch on it. Otherwise, it is dark outside. Anyways, yeah, I just wondered if this could go on indefinitely if you don't put a cap on it. This is scary. When you ask something like this, there's usually a scary reason why.
Councillor Rayner, they're not politicians.
Oh, good. So it should be a lot shorter. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Then
All
we'll move forward. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to pass the floor over to Carolyn.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mayor Bylsma. Thank you, Town Council, for having the region here this evening. My name is Carolyn Ryall. I'm the Director of Transportation, and I'm pleased to be here to provide a road safety update, as well as talk a little bit about the approval that we'll be seeking. I do have Beth Brenz, who was introduced as well, who will be providing the financial update as part of the presentation. And I do have Judy McPherson here, who has been assisting with all of the Vision Zero coordination and meeting with each of the municipalities. So I wanted to introduce her this evening as well. So if I could start first, we're gonna share the screen. Perfect, Judy. Can you see that, Mayor Bylsma?
Not quite yet. Nope.
Okay, just want to make sure that's before we start going.
All right, now it looks like it's working. There we go.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead. Perfect.
Excellent. We can move to the next slide, Judy. Okay, perfect. So the purpose for the meeting this evening in front of council is I'll be providing a Vision Zero road safety program overview as to what the program entails. We'll also be talking about the changes to the intermunicipal agreement, which is going to be before council this evening, seeking an approval with regards to the amendments and the changes that the region, in working in collaboration with each of the municipalities, is seeking. And then we'll talk a little bit around next steps regarding the launch of the program that we're very excited to get up and running in 2022. Next slide. So for everybody who deals with the public and who is obviously on the roadways, whether they're municipal or regional, is aware that speeding is the primary crash factor that we're all dealing with. It is something that my office, and I know many other offices who deal with the different road networks, are dealing with regards to the safety on the roadways. Niagara Region Council has the authority under the Municipal Act to pass bylaws and to initiate measures to ensure the health and safety of residents, and establishing community safety zones, which was the first part of the Vision Zero road safety program coming out of the region. We started with different community safety zones. We implemented 13 throughout the regional road network throughout all of Niagara region starting September of 2019, and we did that through Bill 26. So when we refer to a community safety zone, these are areas that the region was targeting that deal with schools, so high, obviously, pedestrian movements with families, children going to and from schools. We also will eventually be looking into retirement homes, parks, and other areas, again, where there's a lot of active transportation mixed in with the car movement. So what the region actually did was we looked at all of the schools to start across the regional road network. There were 38 in total, and thus far we have approved 13 with the support of Regional Council by identifying them as community safety zones. There were a number of parameters that we looked at in the reports that were provided as part of the report. They'll be coming to the floor later after the presentation, seeking the approval. We did identify a number of the criteria that we looked at. It had to do with infrastructure, for example, sidewalks, lighting, whether there was crossings in the area, the number of students and parents walking to and from school. We looked at collision and speeding violations. And what we did was we ranked all of the 38 schools to start. And again, that's where the approval came forward for the first 13 that we have up and running. I'm pleased to say that there are 2 that have been approved thus far in West Lincoln. John Kelvin School, which is on Regional Road 14 between Spring Creek Road and West Street. And then the second one is the Smithville District Christian High School, Town Line Road, Regional Road 14, between Harvest Gate and Cambro Street in West Lincoln. So there's 2 of them in West Lincoln that have been approved thus far. Next slide. So how does this translate into automated speed enforcement? So automated speed enforcement was launched in December of 2019 by the province. The region was a stakeholder at the table in 2017 when the stakeholders group had been formed with the intent to be a part of how the legislation was going to be crafted and rolled out and approved as part of what was ultimately approved by the province in December of 2019. The business case that we'll be speaking to a little bit further down throughout the presentation talks to 4 automated speed enforcement units that we will be rotating among the 13 approved community safety zones. So as we get the program launched, targeting 2022, again, pending all the approvals that we'll be speaking to about in a minute, the intent will be to have these 4 electronic-based tools rotated among the 13 approved community safety zones, and then tickets will be issued according to offenses in each of those school zones. The important thing to note with the automated speed enforcement program is that any revenue above the operational again, merits that we'll be speaking to in a minute, needs to go back into public safety and educational initiatives that deal with improving safety on the roadways. So what we've been hearing from our partners and colleagues that have already have this up and running is that we're looking to increase safety, we're targeting reducing speed, we want to see positive changes in driver behavior. We continue to work with our Niagara Regional Police counterparts where the ASC unit will be installed and operational. They'll be working in other areas to assist with other driving issues that are being reported on the roadway. And again, it's just to increase driver awareness as to how quickly people may be moving on the regional road network. This slide here is just, again, I'm wanting to relay that these are the number of municipalities thus far that have signed up and are already actively working with automated speed enforcement throughout their municipalities. These individual municipalities were part of the stakeholders group that Niagara Region was a party to. You can see that the number of cameras range from 1 all the way up to 50. And it's fair to say the region is coming in we're coming in similar to where Durham started with 4 cameras. So the other municipalities in consultation that started with the 1 and 2, we're launching the program similar to us to understand through a pilot program the impacts on staffing and on the road, changes to road behavior, as well as the effects that would have to their court systems. So the other thing to note with this slide is you can see under the charge volumes that 522,000 tickets have been issued thus far. That is not talking to revenue, that's talking to tickets issued after they were reviewed and approved through the JPC. And you can see again, the cameras thus far in operation are 123. And those municipalities such as Hamilton that we speak closely to, you can see that they're expanding their initial 2 cameras up to 8 as they move that program forward after they've done their initial pilot and they've been analyzing their data. Next, when we talk about the Vision Zero Road Safety Program, we are also we have proposed through our 2020 business case the launch of red light cameras, another electronic form of a technology-based infrastructure that we will be implementing throughout Niagara Region. We can see that the province has had this in place since 2000, and it is reported to reduce right-angle collisions by 25%. So it has been proven to be an effective means to reducing the seriousness of accidents that occur in intersections. With the region here working on our complete streets typologies that I discussed as part of the 1 to 5 year capital outlook, this will be inherent, obviously, to road safety as we look to increase different modes of travel on the roadway. So when we're looking to deal with intersection collisions and the severity, we're not just talking vehicle and vehicle, we're talking vehicle and pedestrian, and we're also talking cyclist and vehicle. So this is a proven technology that we're excited to roll out here, again, once we get the proper approvals in place in 2022. Our business case identified 10 red light cameras that we will be implementing across Niagara Region. There will be a subsequent report coming forward in 2022 in Q1 to Regional Council identifying all of the intersections that the region looked at. So this was regional and municipal, regional and MTO, as well as regional and Niagara Parks Commission intersections. We've ranked a number of them, and then the intent again to get the program up and running is to launch 10 of those in the new year. And we'll be coming forward again to council to talk to them about how the criteria was used to assess the locations and how we ranked the top 10 to begin the program. Other Vision Zero initiatives, and again, similarly to the 1 to 5 year capital outlook presentation, a number of these are just typical road safety initiatives that the region uses and will continue to use. We talk about signage and pavement markings. We've been incorporating many mid-block crossings and working with municipalities. We've been looking at enhanced street lighting in certain situations, the complete streets typologies that will be getting approved and rolled out, targeting again at some point throughout 2022, different traffic calming measures. We've got the sign here to the right, our speed limit display trailer that we pull around the region based on inquiries related to speeding. So again, the intent is to continue with these different initiatives and to continue to expand on these initiatives as part of the Vision Zero program. So with regards to the revisions that the region has proposed related to the court's intermunicipal agreement referred to as the IMA, we can now move to the next slide, Judy. There was quite a bit of consultation that transpired between the region in each of the 12 local area municipalities. The changes that we have before you tonight, we are seeking approval for those changes to the amendment. I'd like to just note that if we do not seek the approval from all 12 local area municipal councils, the program is not able to start. So I just wanted to let you know that that is one of the important criteria that we're dealing with regards to getting this program up and running. So when we're talking about the changes that were made to the IMA, we are strictly talking about how we'd like, so the language has been written to how the region will lead the implementation, the operation, the oversight, and ensure legislative compliance of the Vision Zero initiative as a traffic safety initiative on behalf of the municipalities and the region throughout all of Niagara Region. We've asked for anything above the net of court program costs, anything with regards to the operating and capital investment done by the region through transportation and a licensing group, that anything above these initial costs and ongoing operational costs, that net revenue then be split 50-50 among the region and the local area municipalities. So the 50-50 split for any revenue at some point further along in the program. That has not changed with regards to the initial IMA construct. What we're asking for and what is being contemplated with the revision here is that the region be able, as well as courts, to be reimbursed for all the upfront operating and capital costs to get the program up and running. And then lastly, there is a duration that we put on as part of the IMA, where we've said that after the third year target, we would look to revise the IMA, and we would be doing the refresh starting that after year 2. So at that time, we will have had the opportunity to collect enough data, see how the program is operating. We would be reporting out annual information to regional council on how the program has been progressing, costs that have been incurred, and any revenue. So that would all be transparent. And then the intent after 2 years would be to regroup with all the 12 local area municipalities to see what changes in addition we'd like to deal with as we move forward with the program. So why are we here again tonight? The current agreement does not identify Vision Zero. We're seeking the approval for the changes identified to Vision Zero. The current agreement doesn't contemplate the province's guidelines for automated enforcement. It doesn't talk to, for example, the legislative requirements in compliance that the region will do on behalf of the region as well as the local area municipalities. So, for example, any revenue at some point down the road that is shared, it needs to be put back into road safety initiatives, and there is a reporting compliance and legislative requirement that the region needs to do. So we'll be working with each of the 12 municipalities on getting that information and being and transmitting that, again, just from the legislative compliance piece. Risk of implementation is being assumed by the region for the launch of the program. So dealing obviously with the education platforms, any public scrutiny related to that. We'll be dealing with stakeholder engagement. Again, that's the partnership between the region and all 12 municipalities. It's also dealing with different businesses that could be impacted by the launch of the Vision Zero program, such as funeral home industry. So when we talk about processions going through red lights, as an example, we also need to be speaking to staff who drive personal vehicles as well as identified municipal vehicles, EMS, fire, for example, going through red lights. So there will be an education and a conversation that needs to be had around that. So the region will be leading those conversations. With regard to the upfront capital and operating costs, that's the risk that the region is willing to assume, and Beth will be speaking to that in a few minutes. And then just the opportunities, again, with us being able to lead the oversight and the implementation of it, we're able to deal with the hiring of the consultants, a consistent framework on which the Vision Zero program is rolled out across the region, and being able, again, to pull everyone together for that collaboration and partnership and talk about how we'd like to expand the program together collectively. So I'm now going to turn the next portion of the presentation over to Beth, and she'll provide a financial overview.
Thanks, Carolyn. The next few slides that I'm going to be presenting are intended to provide a high-level overview of the financials, largely based on as the business case that was approved by Regional Council as part of the 2020 budget process. So this slide provides a high-level overview of the estimated operating budget, as I noted just now on the 2020 business case, which was approved by Regional Council. The numbers shown on this slide relate to our first year of operations, which is estimated, first full year of operations, which was estimated to be 2023. The total operating costs for both the courts program and the region's operations, which is inclusive of transportation and business licensing divisions, are estimated at approximately $4 million. The business case did outline that the operating cost of $4 million would be fully funded if we had ticket revenue from approximately 32,500 tickets, which we're estimating 5,000 tickets for the 10 red light cameras and approximately 27,500 for the 4 ASD cameras. It is anticipated that the ticket revenue generated from the program will allow for enough funds to cover program operating and implementation costs over the 3-year term of the agreement. And as outlined in the amendment to the IMA that's being proposed, any program revenue collected over and above the cost of the program in both court services and within the Niagara Region Transportation and Business Licensing Divisions will be split 50% to the region and 50% to the local area municipalities. in alignment with the current agreement. And as Carolyn noted earlier in the presentation, any revenue incurred over cost must be reinvested back into the program and utilized to further support public road safety in alignment with the provincial guidelines for the ASE program. This is another visual of the anticipated revenue expenditures and planned bottom line for the first full year of operations, based again on the 32,500 tickets being issued. It's important to note that courts recognize revenue based on a cash basis, meaning it's based on ticket revenue received in year, not based on the ticket issued. So 32,500 ticket could result in an estimated total gross revenue related to tickets issued of the 5.4 million. So that's the first box at the top. When considering actual costs received, we are estimating that approximately $300,000 of this revenue will not be received in the first year, resulting in 5.1 million in revenue being received. So that's the second box. The 5.1 million is then further reduced to $4 million in revenue after victim fine surcharges are paid to the province, which is a mandatory payment. $4 million is then further reduced to $2.3 million in remaining revenues after the Court Vision Zero program costs, which are estimated at $1.7 million. And after regional costs estimated at $2.3 million, the program costs come down to a net zero position, meaning no net Vision Zero revenue distribution to the region and the local area municipality. On the left-hand side of the slide, I've also flagged that the region is anticipating approximately $750,000 in implementation costs to get the sites ready. It is anticipated that the region will be paid back these expenditures from future years' Vision Zero revenues prior to any future year's net revenue distribution. So some of the risks that I would like to flag, there are significant unknowns around the number of tickets that will be issued, challenged, and or not paid, which could require collection efforts. Because we're not sure how many tickets will be challenged, we're flagging that there could be pressure in our court trial time capacity as a result of challenged tickets. If we do receive less ticket revenue collected than expenditures incurred for the program, what we're recommending, and as laid out in Section 7 of the amendment to the IMA, is that the region will fund any in-year deficits to ensure no negative impact to non-Vision Zero revenue distribution. The regional funding provided will be repaid from future years' Vision Zero revenue prior to any distribution of future years' revenue. And so just to reiterate, we are saying that the local area municipalities will not be expected to use any of their non-Vision Zero revenue stream to offset Vision Zero program costs. And then opportunities, as noted throughout the slide, the goal of the slide deck, the goal of the program is to change driver behavior to reduce overall speeding on roads within the region and ultimately to improve road safety. There is an opportunity to align staffing levels and court services to ticket volume experience, which will allow the region to ensure we're managing expenditures effectively and ultimately maximizing the net Vision Zero revenue for distribution. And again, if more ticket revenue is collected than expenditures incurred, that net revenue will be distributed based on assessment value, 50% to the region and 50% to the local area municipalities. And that's in alignment with the current agreement. And just a note that any future year's Vision Zero revenue will need to be used to repay back the region for any deficits that have been covered in previous years prior to any distribution. And again, it must be reinvested back into road safety initiatives and reporting to support and reported to the region to support our ministry reporting requirements. I'm going to turn it back now to Carolyn.
Thanks, Beth. So just if I can close on the next steps. So the three of us right now are scheduled across each of the different local area municipal councils with the presentation providing an update on the program as well as seeking the approval for the changes to the intermunicipal agreement as just previously discussed. We are targeting each of those different councils between December and January, and it's fair to say we're on our third this evening. Once we received all of those approvals, which we're hoping for, we will be providing regional council with an update on the finalized amending agreement changes and providing an update as to each of the council meetings. We're targeting for that to be February of 2020. And again, based on all the approvals, once they're put into place, The final step is us putting forward a staff report seeking regional council approval to execute on the vendor agreements for the red light cameras and the automated speed enforcement. And once those are in place and we're working with each of those different vendors, we're targeting to go live in Q2 of 2022 with the Vision Zero Road Safety Program. And we'll continue to communicate next steps and what that program is looking like as we move through 2022 with each of our partners, the local area municipalities. So I wanted to say thank you for having the region here this evening. This is a very exciting program. There's been a lot of consultation, partnership with each of the municipalities as we work to roll this out. And we're pleased to be here this evening, and we're happy to open it up to any questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. So I see Councillor Jonker. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, ladies, for taking the time to be with us here this evening. Definitely one of these things that we're, years ago, not excited to see these cameras and stuff roll out, but I think at the end of the day, we have to realize that there's some benefits to them, and when it comes to safety, we why wouldn't we, right? So I just like to say thanks for doing this, and we look forward to the rolling out. The question I did have was maybe more to Beth that could answer it. Was it says 50-50 split. So does that mean that 50%, if there is a profit, it's going to be that 50% is going to just be divided by 12 and given to each municipality? And then the second question attached to is of that. So let's say we get in where we get $2,000 from this program. That $2,000 has to be put toward improving.
You're a little
if
rough
I'm
there.
correct.
You're breaking up.
Yeah,
a little
my
bit
internet,
there,
right?
Yeah. So hopefully there was enough there for Beth. Okay, go ahead, Beth.
Yes, thank you for your question. So the distribution would be very simple. It would be in alignment with current court revenue distribution. So it's based on assessment value. So that would continue to be the same process for distribution for any net Vision Zero revenue. And yes, to your second part of your question, that revenue would have to be kept separate and be shown to be spent on road safety. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then anybody else? Councillor Trombetta, and then I'll go to Councillor Riley. Yes, I can see your hand. Yeah, great.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryle, Mrs. Burns for your presentation. Obviously, this is a new pilot that's coming out for the region. I know Hamilton did this pilot recently. Obviously, a lot of my relatives received unknown tickets in the mail for this new pilot that Hamilton's doing. So my question to the region is there going to be notification to the public, or is this just a surprise, here you go in the mail sort of thing, if you may?
Sure, through the chair. Thank you for the question. So there is an awareness period and there's an education process that's required in particular for automated speed enforcement. So there will be a window of where the infrastructure will be put out in place. There will be proper warning, and we will be doing it also through media. So there are requirements that you need to meet before you launch automated speed enforcement in particular, that the community and those in the area, Niagara region residents, will be made well aware of the initiative. They may forget where the locations may be. However, there will be proper indication provided, again, on the region's webpage, through education, through the media, per what we need to be following under the guidelines. And the same will follow whatever requirement is needed for red light camera. We will be doing the same with that launch as well.
Okay, thank you for that answer, Mrs. Ryle. Another question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mrs. Ryle is, obviously when these new pilot projects come around, we're a small community, obviously in West Lincoln. A lot of our calls do go to our local councillors and obviously our staff. Will we obviously be able to direct those calls to either the NRP, or where does those calls get directed to? Is that going to be aware to the public to direct their calls? Because a lot of the frustration calls will be coming our way and tie up staff's time, and especially West Lincoln. So where will those calls be going to once they get the mysterious ticket in the mail, let's just say?
Through the mayor. So again, an excellent question. So the region will be fronting and will be the front face for any questions, concerns that are being raised around the project. So we will be working, we've got an office that we're identifying here. There'll be names and phone numbers provided. All of that information will be out there, whether it's on the region's webpage, it'll be part of the media blast, as well as anything that we put out in the newspaper. But what I can say is that if questions are coming into West Lincoln, whether they're directed to politicians or to staff, they'll be able to direct them directly to transportation. We'll step in and we will assist with any inquiry as needed, and we will deal with the public. And again, all of our partners and the businesses, however we need to.
Okay, great. Thank you for that presentation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Riley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the ladies there. So my question actually has to deal with more specifically, so we have 4 cameras that are, I guess, coming once all approved sometime in Q2 of 2022. And so I'm just asking, what is the likability that this West Lincoln will actually see one of those cameras? When I look at speeding, I know the speeding issue is not just isolated to West Lincoln. This is between all 12 municipalities. And when I look at other things that go on, West Lincoln often gets forgotten about. And so I would like to know what kind of certainty or guarantees that we can expect from the region that they'll actually prioritize West Lincoln in this pilot project.
Through the mayor. So West Lincoln has been identified and already has 2 approved community safety zones. So the automated speed enforcement technology can only be used in the council approved community safety zones, and we've got 13 approved to start. The intent right now with the program, with the 4 pieces of equipment, is to rotate the automated speed enforcement throughout all 13 community safety zones. The timing and the frequency is not yet determined as we continue to work with our consultant on that and with the team around the larger program. But West Lincoln will be seeing automated speed enforcement technology at the 2 community safety zones as approved by regional council. Absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate hearing that, because one of my concerns is, when I think about some of the bigger communities within Niagara, is that, we're certainly not big population-wise, and I was worried that we would kind of get forgotten about as per usual, so I'm glad to hear that that's not the case, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jonker again?
Yeah, I got to remind ourselves, these are going to be just used in those community safety zones, right? We're not going to be able to say, can we put one on this road or this road? That's not the point of it. It can only be used in the community safety zone. So the 2 that we have here are, we'll be seeing them. And I guess when you mentioned that, it made me, okay, so basically what I understand then through you, Mr. Mayor, to Carol, these you will be putting up poles or whatever where you can move it to, and then those permanent poles have a camera on them sometimes and sometimes not. Is that kind of how it's going to work? Sir.
Through the mayor. So it's similar to that. So the region will be putting up the necessary infrastructure so that we'll be able to rotate in whatever frequency we determine in the end across the 13 approved community safety zones. So yes, the infrastructure will be put up. It could be a pole, for example. The camera will be there, and then as we rotate them, they'll be moved about across the 13 community safety zones. To clarify, the initial launch of the program from the region's perspective is to start with 4 ASC and 10 red light cameras. Obviously, the intent is to expand the program once we've had an opportunity to assess and understand how it's working, how it's changing driver behavior, how it is changing and improving safety on the roadway as the metric that we're measuring, the impacts it may have onto the courts with the number of tickets. So that's why we've requested the 3-year operational window, with the intent to work with our partners, the municipalities, on extending the program. And that would include down the road, at such time still unknown, for community safety zones that they may place on their municipal streets and roads, that they may want to put this eventually on as well at a later date. So that conversation is still to come. This is just us trying to understand really the basics of the program and how it's going to function. But again, the intent is to expand it strategically across all of Niagara region on the hot areas that we're all dealing with major safety concerns.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, comments? Councillor Gannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So further to that, thank you also for the presentation, but I'm also wondering about the expansion of the number of zones that you're talking about, the community safety zones. So as you are expanding the program, is the plan to also expand the number of zones that are appropriate for those to be placed?
So through the mayor, so the intent right now is, so the region has analyzed the 38 schools on the regional road network. We've identified 13 community safety zones at those schools. So yes, the intent of the program, and we've got the schools prioritized based on a whole list of holistic criteria that have been used on how we were dealing with what would be a top school based on collision and speeding and other factors that I spoke to earlier. So yes, the intent is to be bringing additional schools. We will be looking at retirement homes and also parks on regional roads. And again, that conversation as we expand the program will be had with the municipalities on strategic areas that we may want to expand it onto the municipal roads as well. And so the intent is yes to expand it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Reiner. You're on mute still, sir. Mute.
I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
I
There you
have
go.
a question with regards to retirement homes. Usually the older people get, the slower they go. Is it related to the fact that they're buying fast cars and trying to relive their youth, or what is the concern of a retirement home other than, I know in my dad's case, for example, all you had to do was the written test. If they did practicals, I think 90% of them would fail it. But the question is, where is the concern of the retirement home?
Through the mayor. So the concern is not with the individuals who are living in the retirement home themselves. What we're targeting are roadways where there are unsafe driver behavior occurring on the roadway. And for example, a retirement home similar to a school will have a lot of individuals walking about. They're outside, they want to cross the street, depending on the amenities around them, obviously trying to cross either at a signalized intersection or a pedestrian crossing. The intent is to be dealing with the driver behavior, the distracted driving, more importantly, the speeding on the road network. So it's not targeting the retirement home specifically. What we're trying to do is we're trying to increase active transportation, walking, cycling, biking, all of those different things in addition to the car-centric environment. And what we're targeting are those behaviors and those conflicts that they're having with those other modes of travel, and in particular, those who are trying to walk safely in an area and there's speeding or excessive speeding happening on the roadway. So we're trying to deal with just high activity areas, which we will deem a community safety zone, and then any erratic driving behaviors there are what we're trying to correct for.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, with erratic driving, are these being scrutinized because the vehicles have left the road and hit pedestrians, or is it because the pedestrians were hit on the road where the cars were supposed to be? Can you give me clarification of that? It's just that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Through the mayor. So the Vision Zero platform deals with a large number of safety matters we're trying to deal with on the roadway. The automated speed enforcement technology in particular is going to be dealing with a car moving above a certain threshold on the region's right of way. So at such time they're over that threshold, they will be issued a ticket. Currently in a community safety zone, we work very closely with the Niagara Regional Police in those areas, and they have been and will continue to pull over drivers that are not only speeding, they could be drivers who are distracted driving, it could be drivers that are doing, other things are happening on the roadway, such as, an accident that could occur off the roadway. That's where the assistance and the partnership happen with the Niagara Regional Police. So the program is holistic in that it's bringing additional tools to the table, and these are two electronic forms, technology, that we're trying to bring to enhance, the other traditional means of what we've been doing on the roadway in concert with the Niagara Regional Police. So this is one form, again, of how we're targeting certain behaviors in addition to the other things we're going to be doing, whether it's how we're changing the road dynamic through our complete streets, enhanced marking and signage and lighting. So it's a very large program that addresses many elements of trying to address driver behavior, promoting safety, lowering collisions is what we're trying to do with the program overall.
All right, one further question then. With regards to the policing, you're basically trying to do some of the police work. The police have a budget. Is this supposed to help reduce their budget? Because there are being obviously more tickets given out electronically than somebody sitting in a cruiser, because I've sure had my fair share of that. But the point is there going to be a reduction in the police services budget every year as this is going to offset it? Or what's the direction going to be? I know that there is substantial amount of fines, and I am sure that they are calculated in the budget that the police are supposed to rack in every year. So if this is being augmented, will there be a reduction, do you expect, in the police services budget to offset?
Through the mayor. So no, the intent is not to be offsetting any of the budgets of the Niagara Regional Police. It's fair to say that there is a huge amount of awareness. There's a huge amount of driver safety and issues that we're dealing with on the regional road network. And we're doing that in concert and partnership right now with the regional police. So I'll use an example with the red light cameras. So the red light cameras target obviously somebody running a red light and with the potential that it could cause a serious collision resulting in fatality. So unless the Niagara Regional Police are sitting at the intersection, they're not positioned right now, stationed at intersections to catch people running through red lights. So the intent of the red light camera is to curb that behavior, individuals running red lights, and to use the regional police support elsewhere throughout the communities, whether it's dealing with speeding or other issues that they may be dealing with in each of the different communities, in addition just to the road issues that we're facing. So no, the intent is not to change or augment, at least for the start of this program, and there's been no dialogue with us and the police around that.
So it's a both and. There you go, Councilor Rayner.
Yeah, poor taxpayer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. We've all had a crack at the can here. Anybody with some final comments? Seeing none, then thank you, Carolyn and Beth, for your presentation this evening. And we have a motion that was going to be moved by Councillor Bradrick, but I'm going to ask Councillor Gannan. Can you read the motion?
The only motion I have, Mr. Mayor, is the one to extend the time.
Okay, all right, then I'll read it. I'll read it, and then I'll ask for somebody to move and second it.
It may be later.
Mayor, it's the motion that's under item 15.1.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's later on the agenda.
Yeah, it's under 15.1. While Ms. Royale and Ms. Friends and Ms. McPherson are in attendance, I think it would be, I would suggest that we deal with the Director of Public Works and Recreation's report.
Perfect.
So that they can hear the outcome of the resolution.
Okay, so that report PW 23-2021 regarding Vision Zero program amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement dated December 13, 2021 be received, and that the amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement as attached as Appendix A be approved for the purposes of advancing the Vision Zero program, and that a bylaw be passed authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute an amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement. Can I get a mover for that?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. A seconder, please. Councillor Jonker. Any comments or questions?
So I have one comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
I just want to seek clarity through you to our clerk. Do we need to have a direction to move this ahead? Like you asked at the beginning if there's any change of items in order of the agenda. Like, do we need to do one step first, or is it okay if we just kind of jump into this?
No, I would suggest it was noted in the agenda that we were referring to the director's report as part of this presentation.
Okay, so we don't need to.
I feel it's appropriate and it's no requirement for change.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't going to have to clean this up later if that was the case, so that's fine. I have no other questions, Mr. Mayor. Other than, I guess I will say, I certainly think we need to address the speeding issues that are in our community. They're not isolated to these 2 spots, but if we can change some of the driver behavior, and at least in 2 areas, it's better than nothing. I see this as, I know Councilor Rayner asked questions about how it's being implemented and was it being targeted, and I think in understanding that the idea is that we're just trying to change behaviors of the people who are using the road. It's not targeting any group of people regarding wherever they live, or if they're students themselves, going to school. This is clearly set up to, to change the behavior of drivers and make them more self-aware of the surroundings they're in. If anything, this is a great start if we actually see this in our community. Unfortunately, I think it leaves a lot of other roads vulnerable that haven't been identified yet, so I hope that those get identified sooner rather than later, because we have a lot of speed issues that we need to address, and anything that can help cover us in that respect, that the police can't always be there to see, is only a win for our community. So I fully support this, and I like to see some kind of something more in the future. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions on the motion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you, Carolyn and Beth, for your presentation this evening, and you have our support.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the support. I also wanted to thank Madam Clerk, Madam CEO, and Director DiPaolo for their support. They helped us along with getting here this evening and with the staff report. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right. And then we move forward. We have Regional Councillor remarks. Call on Councillor Woodavine to provide his remarks.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council and staff members and the public. Glad to be in the Council chambers this evening to continue to make my monthly presentations. So I'd just like to start by sharing communication I had with our Staff Sergeant Sean Parent from the Niagara Regional Police Department. Council over the last number of months have expressed concerns in our community and also this evening. And so I've reached out to Staff Sergeant Parent and shared our concerns with the issues of the St. Martin's School and with individuals entering the vacant building in the evening hours, with persons also looking for seeking shelter. So Sean has dispatched his officers to patrol the site in the evenings when these occurrences happen. And I also requested Staff Sergeant to keep an eye on College Street, as that's also a vacant building in our community, to make sure that that's a secure site. So I also mentioned our concerns in our residential areas. I've noticed also on social media about individuals coming to our community in the middle of the night to seeking opportunities of unlocked vehicles and theft occurring. So Staff Sergeant thanked me for bringing these items to his attention, and they would continue monitoring these concerns and express his open door policy on any further concerns that we had in our community concerning policing. I did mention from a committee meeting that council would be requesting his presence at a council meeting further to communicate and report and dialogue with us. So since my last report in October, much has been going on at the region. We have been busy working through our 2022 budget process. Councillors and staff understand the pressures of COVID and increased pressures of inflation on our residents and increased costs in capital projects. So we were working through that, and hopefully by the end of the year, or early next year, we will have our increase set. The goal was set to staff to be under 2%, and we're working diligently to meet that objective. So in November at our planning meeting, we continue to discuss our next steps of the official plan. about employment areas, and there was many requests to include land into the employment strategy. So concerns were the criteria was to protect and separation of sensitive lands, access to road, rail, and water. And lastly, long-term considerations. So staff have been working diligently to base decisions on criteria set before them to protect these employment areas for the long-term growth of Niagara. We've had applicants come and ask for some of that land to be switched over to residential, but staff feel that these lands should be protected for employment moving forward into the future. So in December, we had our Public Works meeting. We reviewed internal and external audits of our water quality management and wastewater systems, which I think we need to know what's going on. And the findings were that we had some non-conformances, and so there was some corrective actions that were taking place. But all in all, we've had a good outcome with all the many systems that Niagara Region is looking after, so we can be secure or be, feel safe about our drinking water availability and cleanliness, and also our wastewater treatments that are being managed well here in Niagara. So this morning, I attended a Waste Management Steering Committee where I received a report for the last year's change in our new collection contract. So after 1 year, we as residents have collectively diverted 17.6% of the past total collection of our of the past total collection garbage from our landfill. We increased the collection of organics by 22% and increased recycling tonnage by 9.7%. So I'd like to thank everybody for this great achievement. We're showing our environmental stewardship as residents here in West Lincoln as well as Niagara. And kudos to everyone in helping make this a difference, understanding that change has its challenges. So lastly, I just wanted to report on Public Health and Social Services meeting and highlight that some of the challenges that are coming before us. There's approximately 35,000 individuals with the help of 16 agencies that are helping people in our community with Ontario Works and helping them re-enter the workforce. So this we also are helping these people with giving them mental health assistance through Pathstones, and we're starting obviously to see some of that from the post-COVID, where people are challenged in that way, and our staff are challenged to, and their goal is to facilitate integrated care approach and evidence-based treating. So our next challenge is obviously this the transition from CERB to Ontario Works, as people will receive less in compensation, and so we believe it will be a difficult winter for many. Also in our community, and put a strain on our community care services. So we're seeing that increase in caseloads. So I encourage you all to help and support our local community care organizations over the Christmas season and beyond. So as councillors, this is my report for December. If any members have any questions, I will gladly answer them to the best of my ability.
All right, thank you, Councillor Witteveen. And do any councillors, Councillor Drumpetta, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Witteveen, for your presentation. Very informative. Just on a different note, I'd like to thank you for some assistance that you helped us with in regards to regional transit. There has been some issues actually with regional transit in our area. People have been left stranded. Time frames haven't been picked up. Both stranded at the home and at the place where they were dropped off. Still waiting to hear back from Regional Transit. I know, I forget his last name, Rob Stelowich, from the region, was looking into that issue. Do you have any further updates on that issue in regards to the issues that we've been having with Regional Transit?
Not at this, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Trombetta. After our communication and you brought to my attention of the individual, I obviously forward your concerns in an email to Robert Solowich and mentioned to him about the situation. He responded, I believe to both of us, that he would contact the individual and sort out why that individual did not receive the level of service or the appointment at the, I guess, at the book time. So at this point in time, that was earlier this week, and I have not heard anything after that point, Councillor Trombetta.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Whitby. Yeah, I just wanted to make those notes for the record that there has been some struggles with Regional Transit, but I think we are having Regional Transit report back to us at sometime in January. Is that correct, Madam CAO?
You can hear me. Sorry about this. I had to switch my computer. Yeah, they are coming back on January 31st, and that is for the final presentation and request for support.
Okay, I'll save some questions for them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, Councillor Riley, go ahead, sir. I see you waving there.
Okay, thank you. Just making it a little bit more animated to ensure you see it. I know you got lots of screens in front of you. I just want to go, I guess, through you to the regional councillor, and thank you as well for more specifically bringing some of that, the stuff regarding St. Martin's School and some of the other issues we have in our community to the staff sergeant's attention. As Councillor Ganane and I, hear almost on a daily basis all the petty crimes that are going on in the community, and some of that's escalated to grand theft auto as well. So it's great to know that we have a representative that's actually going to be able to go right to the police service themselves and making sure that those voices are being heard. Because right now it's we understand times are tough for a lot of people, and there's a lot of shenanigans that are going on in our community. So that means a lot to me to hear that you're able to pursue that and follow up with that. And I think you're probably aware we also put a motion forward at committee to hopefully have the staff sergeant come out here at a future meeting, and we're able to kind of build on that and bring some more of the other issues forward. So I just thought, since you mentioned that, I would also mention my gratitude towards you addressing that, because I had asked that for a little while now through I think it was probably council or committee, and I know not much happened. So I appreciate you actually taking the initiative and actually making something happen. So thank you.
And I think Councillor Rayner had something he wanted to say.
Yes, it was with regards to the transit. Like Councillor Trombetta, I had a very irate individual, very concerned that his mother was basically abandoned, and information was brought forth that they would be there. They weren't there. Then when they did come, they took off before they picked her up, and there was a lot of concern. And I guess the thing that got me was that there was a presentation, I believe, a month or two ago with regards to that, and it was mentioned, I think it was $6 anywhere, and they could be picked up and taken anywhere in this area. And I was quite enthused about it. And yet Councillor Trombetta, he didn't buy into it, and he didn't support it. And I thought, well, okay, let's see where this goes. And it turns out I now know why he didn't support it, because we ended up with a constituent that had a very justified reason to be upset, because it was a number of times that this had occurred. So I'm hoping this will be addressed, but as Councillor Trombetta said, he hasn't heard from the regional rep yet with regards to this. This occurred a couple of weeks ago. I would hope that it would be resolved by now. But it certainly is a situation that Councillor Trombetta brought up in the past, is the fact that Ward 1 is in the boondocks and we're away from everybody. And the concern he had, which I can now understand and appreciate, is that it doesn't work as efficiently when you're so far away from civilization as it does when everybody's around town, and things are going to happen. And sure enough, they did. So okay. I just hope this gets resolved and we can move forward and not do this, because this individual was an elderly woman, and they shouldn't have to go through that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'm going to go to Madam CAO.
Hi there. Thank you. Through you, Mayor Bilsma to Councillor Rayner. That individual did contact the municipal office, and I personally spent quite a bit of time going through the scenario, and then reached out directly to the regional staff that are handle those issues. And I know that they had been in touch, and they said that it is not a systemic issue, and they were going to be working hard with them. I don't know if you've heard from him again. I'd love to have another chat with him. Maybe I'll follow up with him myself and see how he made out. And we also were looking at whether or not they the specialized service might have been a better fit. So there are other services out there as well.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments to Councillor Whitamy? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for your presentation and your diligence as usual, giving us a detailed report of what's going on at the region. So moving on then, we move on to council minutes. Regular Councillor Jonker, you have the resolution for the November 22 minutes.
Yes, I do. Moved by myself that the minutes of the November 22nd, 2021 regular council meeting be accepted.
Okay, and do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Trombetta, thank you. Any comments or questions? I see none, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have the public meeting under the Planning Act minutes for December 6th. We have Councillor Rayner. You have that resolution.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I've lost the picture for some reason. Moved by myself that the minutes of the public meeting held on December 6, 2021 under Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to A zoning bylaw amendment, Paul and Lorraine Concrete, 2458 Smithville Road, file number 1601 015-21 be accepted.
Great, thank you. And we can see you. So just so you know, we can see you. Councillor Jonker seconding. Any comments or questions? I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor?
I hope you can see that. Support?
Yep, I can see you. Yep, great. Thank you, Councillor Rayner.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that is yeah, there, and that is carried. Thank you. There are no communications for this evening, so I'm going to provide a couple of remarks, mayor's remarks. The first I wanted to say was we'll work a little bit backwards. The most recent was the parade, and unfortunately I was slated to join the parade on the Saturday night, but we were blown away. I think Councillor Rayner would probably want to speak more. I was not unable to attend then on the Sunday, but I understand from social media that it was still a success. So we're thankful that that was able to proceed. The other thing that I wanted to say was able to raise a flag on December the 7th in, I guess, support of Jillian's place. It was 16 days to bring awareness to gender-based violence. So it was an opportunity to highlight that social ill that we continue to struggle with and bring awareness to. Also, I wanted to highlight that the Silverdale Hall also did their Christmas turkey dinner. Again, very thankful to the volunteers there at the Silverdale Hall who continue to press for normalcy during these COVID days. I don't think they've missed a single opportunity to do their regularly scheduled corn roasts and turkey dinners and the such. So I want to highlight how meaningful they are to the community. So those are my comments. I don't know if anybody has a question or concern about that. Later on, you guys will have your opportunity to probably highlight some of the neat things that are going on in the community. Report of committee. Councillor Riley, you have the resolution for building, planning, environmental on December 6th.
I do. Moved by myself that the minutes of the open portion of December 6, 2021 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted and the recommendations contained therein be approved with the following exceptions, and there's currently none, and that number 2, the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of December 6, 2021 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes, oh my goodness, I'm tripping over myself, the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you. Councillor, can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Gannon, thank you. Any comments or questions? I see none, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to admin, fire, finance, December 6th. Councillor Trombetta, you have that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the open session portion of December 6, 2021 Administration Fire Finance Committee meeting be accepted, and that the recommendations contained thereon be approved with the exception of, and I don't see any in front of me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a seconder, please. And that's Councillor Jonker. Any comments or questions? I don't see any, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving right along, there was no Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting, so we'll move on to reconsideration is there, and motion to rescind is there. On to other business. We have a, that was dealt with earlier. That was the Carolyn Royale presentation, so we move on to 15.2. Councillor Ganan, you have a resolution for that item.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that report CAO-04-2021 West Lincoln Corporate Strategic Plan 2021 Year-End Status Update dated December 13th, 2021 be received for information.
Well, and then before we deal with that, then we should hear that presentation. So I'm going to ask for a seconder, then we're going to have the presentation, and then it's already on the floor. Councillor Riley. So I'm going to move to Madam CAO for our year-end update.
So thank you very much. There isn't a formal presentation. We have a really, really good staff report in the agenda that lays out all of the accomplishments for the second half of 2021. So this is our fourth time presenting on this. And again, I have to commend staff for, first of all, doing all the work in support of the items that are that were laid out by council to make sure that we were achieving those, and they're doing that very well. And then they're actually sort of catching on to how we are doing this reporting, and it's getting to be a little bit more seamless. So I think if you go to the website, under our corporate strategic plan, you have a very good record of what this township has been doing since the corporate strategic plan was put in place. And I'm happy to take any questions about any of the items. So if there's something people would like to ask or get a bit more information about, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you, Madam CAO. Is there any questions for the Madam CAO? I don't see any, so I'm going to then thank you for that update. And we're just so thankful to have a plan that we can get updates on. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried, but is Councillor Rayner? All right, well, it is carried. There was sufficient, so thank you, Madam CAO. We're going to move on to members of council remarks. Are there any members of council that have remarks to make this evening? Oh, look, everybody's got their hand up. So we'll just go around the circle. We'll go with Councillor Trombetta first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I wasn't able to attend the Christmas parade on Saturday, but it was a big windstorm. Obviously, there's a lot of people without power around our whole region. I think it was a bigger one that went from pretty much
Kentucky,
Caister to, well, I'll just use our area. Caister to Silverdale to Smithville was a real big one all in one, but NPI did get the power back on for a majority of the residents, which they were out for a bit, but I'm glad that the power did come back on for those residents. I just wanted to say, a Merry Christmas to the council and to staff, and a Happy New Year. This will be our last meeting for the year. Just wanted to say those comments. So hopefully everybody has a good, happy holiday with their families and spend some time around the dinner table for a good, wholesome Christmas. So just wanted to wish Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to staff and the members of this council and to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jonker.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear this without it breaking up, but same thing as what Councillor Trombetta said there. Merry Christmas and all the best in the new year to everyone. And it was an interesting year, to say the least. Would have been nice to be able to go back to normal, but we'll patiently wait for that to happen. Hopefully in the new year. But yeah, so to everybody, a happy Christmas and a blessed new year, and may you find the joy of the true meaning of Christmas, and may it last a lot longer than just a couple weeks. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ganand, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, but I wanted to actually talk about West Lincoln Community Care just a little bit and about what's been happening in the last few weeks. We have had food drive competitions between elementary schools, Caister and Gainsborough. We've had this Christian high school with a food drive. We've had the Knights of Columbus and the Pathfinders gathering food for West Lincoln Community Care. We had the Silverdale dinner that you alluded to already, where all of the profits from that went to West Lincoln Community Care. And I could just go on and on and on. You know, we've had the firefighters collecting donations even at the parade. I just think that I want to point out that even the people who are shopping at the thrift store are helping West Lincoln Community Care, because all of the money and the donations all go to help feed our families that are in need at this time of year and at any other time of year, but especially at Christmas. So I guess I just really want to say how proud I am to be part of living in a caring, generous community such as West Lincoln. People throughout COVID have really done a remarkable job supporting their neighbors and friends, and especially at Christmas season. I was helping last week to pack some of the packages of gifts and things, and it's remarkable, just remarkable how generous our community has been. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, and I thank you for raising that, because I totally concur. Go ahead, Councillor Riley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Councillor Ganand's comments there. I think we live in a very remarkable community. So I guess I wanted to touch base a little bit on the Santa Claus Parade as the council liaison. And so, yeah, I got my hat's off to the parade committee. They did everything they possibly humanly could do to try to make that parade happen Saturday. And Mother Nature just wasn't having it between the winds and then the power outages. And yeah, so I don't think a lot of people realize how much work it goes just planning, let alone setting up and then having all the stuff you set up basically get blowing down and flowing around and chasing all that and trying to hold that alive there. And so unfortunately, having to make the change was inevitable, having to move it back that one day. And as a result, unfortunately, a lot of the floats, not so much a lot, but part of the floats were unable to make the accommodation because due to other plans. But the committee, had really gave it their all. And I would say I got to be the greeter at the gate there on the Sunday when we had it. And so it was actually quite incredible to see how many people were coming in. I kind of lost count around a couple hundred cars. I would have to, if I estimated, I'd say there is upwards, if not close to 500 vehicles there. So, we certainly had close to, a couple thousand people going through there because each vehicle was pretty much full to capacity. But it was impressive with how many people were just so understanding and grateful and just embracing the holiday spirit. It was really nice to be able to have that little sense of community again, another slice of normalcy coming back one way or another. Hopefully next year we're back to the traditional parade. But again, I can't say enough incredible things and great things about this committee and its chair, Nicole Chimay there, because they really had to hold it together through some of the most difficult circumstances and obstacles thrown at them one way after another. And so and a lot of that stuff goes unseen because everyone doesn't get to see the behind the scenes. So I get to see kind of both of that, and they really, honestly, I can't say enough great things about how this community rallied despite everything thrown at them. So again, I think it's important that this council acknowledges all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into organizing this just to have it, kind of have to pivot and move around that. So I thought that was worth noting. And I saw also at the parade there who were able to make it. I guess it was our regional councillor, Albert Witteveen, as well as Councillor Ganand. They were able to take part in the township float there. And I saw our CAO drive through at one point, and our communications officer drove through at one point. There was lots of familiar faces. And yeah, it was pretty successful considering what we had to deal with there, and able to put a little video up of Santa himself, wishing all the residents and children Merry Christmas. And yeah, and our firefighters who, as always, rise to the occasion and embrace the weather there and the winds as well, and gave each of the children, a bag of their own to be able to, take home. And yeah, it was overall a great event. And so hopefully next year, like I said, hopefully we can kind of go back to a traditional parade, but whatever challenge we face, I know this committee is going to be prepared to take it on. What's left now is the West Lincoln Sparkles, and as well as I think the coloring contest. The dates have escaped me when those close, but those certainly close within the next week or two. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. I'll just, to echo everyone else, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hope you all stay safe and prosperous as we enter what 2022 is going to look like. And yeah, we'll be thinking of you guys. So have a blessed Christmas, and hope everyone stays well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rayner, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted a little more update on that windstorm we had on Saturday. It was probably the worst we've had out in my area, and my power even went out. And Councillor Trombetta's power goes out if he looks at it the wrong way. His power goes out all the time. So when his power went out, I thought, well, so what? That's the norm. But anyways, a little bit later, everybody else's went out, and I was getting a lot of people concerned about it calling me, and I had a direct line to NPEI, the Vice President of Communications. So I was with her, talking to her at least a half a dozen times all during the night. Our power was out for 4.5 hours, which wasn't bad. My brother-in-law, who lives in Font Hill, that has Hydro One, he was out for over 24 hours. He only got his power back Sunday night. We were not near that bad. So NPEI did a great job. There were a lot of trees down. Apparently the biggest one, somebody sent me a picture of a mammoth tree that went down on Concession 5. It took everything in its path. The thing had to be 36 inches in diameter around. It was just a huge monster. It went right across the whole road, took everything in its path. So it took a long time to clean that up. But anyways, we're back to normal. Hopefully it's not as bad anymore. Storms like that usually happen in November. That's where the gales of November came in, and the Edmund Fitzgerald famous record by Gordon Lightfoot was developed was because of the gales of November, but we got the gales of December instead. Yeah, so it's kind of strange. Something on a different note, on the upper level of politics, on the Ontario level, just to give you an idea of what's going on and who's really in charge. I made a comment last month about how proud I was of the councillors of the city of Hamilton to draw the line with regards to urban boundary expansion, especially after they had a voting where 90% of the public said, don't do it, leave our land. It was reported a couple days later that the Minister of Housing was at a banquet or something, and he made the comment that he certainly wasn't pleased with the decision of Hamilton, and that we have the final say. And I thought, well, that's exactly what Mr. Treble had said to us with regards to what we were doing in West Lincoln, that if they don't like what you're doing, they'll just do it anyways. But the ironic part about this that I really look at it is the Minister of Housing was not happy with the decision, but the Minister of Agriculture never applauded it. It was a minor victory for him. He saved some of the agricultural land, and he's a Minister of Agriculture. So shouldn't he have been excited about the fact that some of it was saved? Not a word from him. Obviously, he wants to keep his job. But the point being that here was an opportunity for the Minister of Agriculture to say, well, I understand where the Minister of Housing is coming from, but thank goodness at least somebody saved some land. Not a word. So there's your political situation on the Ontario level. Anyways, like all the other councillors, I wish everybody, staff and everybody in the Township of West Lincoln a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a safe one, hopefully a COVID-free one. And hopefully next year will be a lot better than we've got this year. At least we're moving in the right direction as compared to a year ago. So we look forward to a lot better social life around here, so one can get back to normal again, hopefully next year.
Great, thank you. So moving on, we have an opportunity to introduce a new item of business. Is there anybody with a new item of business? Seeing none, then we have bylaws. Councillor Jonker, you have the resolution for bylaws this month.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that leave be granted to introduce bylaws number 2021-108, 109, 110, and 111, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading, and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you, Councillor Jonker. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Ganand, thank you. I'm going to ask, are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Only 4 bylaws this month. There are no confidential matters, so I'm going to move to adjournment. Before I do that, I would like to also wish councillors, staff, and the community at large very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and safe holidays. And so with that, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned at the hour of exactly 9 p.m. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
See you next year.
Bye, everybody. Happy holidays.